If we could please get the gallery to quiet down, we will go ahead and call tonight's meeting to order. I have 6 o'clock on November the 6th, and I will call tonight's meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of College Station to order. If everyone will please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, God, indivisible. I've never called us to order with the gavel, so I figured tonight was a good way to do it. We will move on to item 2, which is hear visitors. At this time, we will open up the floor to visitors wishing to address the commission on issues not already on tonight's agenda. The secretary has let us know that no one has signed up. Would anyone like to step forward? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 3, which is our consent agenda. The only item on there are our minutes from October the 16th. And if anyone have anything to remove, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda passes. Nothing got pulled, so we will move on to our regular agenda. Item 5.1, public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Unified Development Ordinance, Article 4, Zoning Districts, Section 4.2, Official Zoning Map of the Code of Ordinances of the City of College Station, Texas, by changing the zoning district boundaries from GC General Commercial to T Townhouse for approximately 0.175 acres generally located east of the intersection of Holleman Drive and Cain Road. Mr. Howell.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. Jeff Howell with the Planning and Development Services Department. Tonight's request is to rezone property generally located east of the intersection of Holleman Drive South and Cain Road. As you can see from the aerial, the subject property is currently vacant. Tonight's request is to rezone approximately 0.0175 acres of land from GC General Commercial to T Townhouse. And this item was brought forward by the applicant because they are requesting this rezoning to provide for a correction of approximately 7 feet to expand the townhouse development for additional housing in the area. This item is still in line with the comprehensive plan as it is seen as an extension of the adjacent designation, and staff has received no communication in support or opposition to this request. Staff does recommend approval, and this will be heard at the November 24th City Council meeting. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions for Mr. Howell?
Jeff, I just had a question. Was it an alleyway or what? Why is it just this narrow strip?
Right, and so I can let the applicant speak a little bit more to it, but it is for a townhouse development, and it is to apply consistent standards for that development, and so it was seen as a correction, and so that's why it's being brought forward.
I guess maybe a follow-up, or maybe I'm just not. How did we miss the 7 feet before?
It was identified as when they came in to subdivide the property, it was identified that it didn't line up with the rezoning request, and so it was up to the applicant whether they wanted to modify that subdivision plat or request a modification to the zoning, and they have requested to make a modification to the zoning.
Any other questions for Mr. Howell? And you said the applicant is here. Would they like to step forward? Please. And if you can just state your name and company of record and address.
Ricky Flores. My name is Ricky Flores with Schultz Engineering, representing the applicant. Like Jeff said, this was a overlook on the width of the lots. So in order to match the surrounding lot widths, that's where we came in and having to make an additional 7 feet. So whenever the original request was put in, we missed it by 7 feet, or approximately 7 feet or so. So this is just making it so that the full width of all those lots will be able to be built. There's no change in density, no change in lot counts on that side of the street or anything like that.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
This is scheduled for a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. The secretary has let us know that no one has signed up. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing, and I will open this up to the will of the commission.
Move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. We will move on to agenda item 5.2, public hearing, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding an ordinance amending Appendix A, Unified Development Ordinance, Article 3, Development Review Procedures, Section 3.5, Concept Plans for PMUD or PDD districts of the Code of Ordinances of the City of College Station, Texas, by amending certain sections relating to requirements of the concept plans and community benefits of the PDD. Mr. Howell.
Thank you. Good evening again, Chair and members of the Commission. Jeff Howell with the Planning and Development Services Department. And so this item is an item that was brought forward a little bit ago, but this item is coming before you as a ordinance amendment to the Plan Development Districts, or specifically PDDs. So just to take you all back, this item was identified on our plan of work some time ago. Back in June of last year, we did bring this item forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a workshop where we had some discussion and some direction provided to have additional stakeholder meetings and input in the following months, back in July and August of last year. And then taking that input from the commission and the stakeholders, that's how we arrived at the amendment before you this evening. So just to give a background of PDDs for some of you that might not have been on the commission at that time, PDDs were first created back in 1998. At that time, there were a few standards and requirements as part of that, and the concept plan was added back in 2001. And then in 2003, community benefits were added to the plan development district requirements. And that's mainly also what we're also talking about this evening too. And so the review process that you are probably familiar with is for PDDs. It is similar to a typical rezoning, but they do have the concept plan, as I mentioned. Concept plans are brought forward to identify a general concept of what the development is to look like. It does include meritorious modifications for variations that are proposed, and they do provide community benefits as part of that to offset some of those variations as part of the request. The concept plan can be amended after it's approved. They are classified as minor amendments and major amendments, which I'll get into in just a second. And so why would somebody want to have a plan development district? This is the definition as identified in the Unified Development Ordinance. I won't read the entire thing, but it is to include innovative concepts for development that may not fit into the typical standard zoning districts, and they might need variations. And so as part of that, they do provide community benefits as part of that to offset those modifications that are being requested. This is a snapshot of the PDDs within the City of College Station currently. There are about 133 plan development districts. The average area of the PDDs are about 19.3 acres, the smallest of which is about a quarter acre, and the largest is over 260 acres. And so what are some of the existing challenges that we're having? The level of detail of the concept plans do vary. It does make it a little bit more challenging to have benefits that can be tangible and enforceable, and it does also provide some challenges with regards to determining what are modifications that can be administerial in nature versus those that would come before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. And so going back to the history as to how we got here this evening, back in the fall of last year and to now, we've been working on updating the red lines and creating an ordinance, and the ordinance is before you this evening, and the red lines were provided as part of the backup for this particular item. And so the proposed amendment does include minimum standards to be provided, as well as selective standards that go beyond the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. It does differentiate between larger and smaller areas. This is in an effort to provide for additional predictability and clarification, not only for staff, but also for applicants as well, and then providing more elements as part of the modifications, again, to help clarify what is administerial in nature versus those that would come before you all. And so this is a look at the red lines just in a table. Again, the amendment was provided for you in the backup with the red lines. This helps to summarize the request, where the request is being made, and the reason for the amendment. You'll see this table in the following slides, but just wanted to show you how this is organized. And so the first is for concept plans. For those that are less than 20 acres, we wanted to provide additional elements and clarification as to the requirements to be provided and update the language for community benefits. For those that are larger than 20 acres, again, that 20 acres is coming from that average size that we're seeing across the city. A more generalized concept plan can be provided, and that can be phased in later because we've also seen that request being made to have those be more general when a design isn't solidified at the time that comes before us as an application. One of the major changes as part of this amendment is for the community benefits. For those that are 5 acres or more, we did include 2 required elements to be provided as part of the PDD request, and that would be for additional open space and landscaping. And then we also did identify some selective requirements that applicants can choose from, which would be inclusive of more landscaping, paths, or reducing impervious cover. Other items can be brought forward as an applicant requests it, but it would be something that would be subject to approval as well. For those that are less than 5 acres, and this was something that was identified by the Planning and Zoning Commission when we brought this forward as a workshop, as you all wanted to see for those PDDs that are smaller than 5 acres and not located in a redevelopment area. We developed a point system for those benefits. So as developments are proposed to be smaller, they do require points. Points are awarded for each item that is a community benefit. For those, that would be a 1-point element, such as landscaping, signage, and NRA requirements. 2 points for those such as additional landscaping, tree preservation, and a reduction in building height. And 3 points for things that might be more challenging, such as parking screening, a plaza, or landscape buffer increases. These, again, would all be subject to approval. And this is in an effort to provide for additional flexibility and more predictability, again, for staff as well as for applicants. And then the last section that was proposed to be modified is for concept plan modifications, again, to differentiate those that would be minor modifications that would be reviewed at the staff level versus major modifications. This is a list of the minor modifications. For those that are less than 20 acres, we did add some qualifiers in there to provide for additional clarification to help differentiate, again, what would classify as a major and minor. Also, with the level of detail that we're asking for as part of these concept plans, this information can then be further evaluated. And then those that are larger than 20 acres, as long as they don't make a change to the arrangement of base zoning districts and the meritorious modifications, these would all be considered minor modifications. Anything that would be outside of this, again, would come before the Planning and Zoning Commission and back to City Council for final approval. That concludes my presentation. Again, the red lines are included as part of the backup. We did receive 1 phone call of inquiry, and this item will be heard at the November 24th City Council meeting.
Questions for Mr. Howell?
One of the items you mentioned was the non-enforceability. Is there anything changed to increase enforceability, these modifications?
This just allows for those community benefits to be things that are tangible and that the city can enforce, because sometimes when applications would come forward for community benefits, and looking at this list right here, and the entire list is included as part of the backup. It was primarily derived in looking at previous requests for planned development district to show that these are things that can be done and have been done throughout the city, but it's also to have things that the city can enforce, because sometimes an application might come forward with a request for a community benefit that we cannot enforce, such as something maybe like rent or something that we don't have any enforcement mechanism. So these are items to help guide applicants as to what can be included and what could be determined as a tangible community benefit.
Tangible and enforceable.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
One quick follow-up question for that. So these are specifically for those that are PDs that are less than 5 acres.
Correct.
What do we have that would help? And I thought I saw that on the screen. If there are some other larger ones, what becomes more? These are the ones that we can actually be enforceable for the city.
Correct, and these would be things that are identified as part of the concept plan, and when they would actually then come in to develop, if they were coming in for a commercial development, we would see it as part of the site plan. But these, again, are things that would be required, as opposed to leaving them more open-ended and applicants coming forward and not knowing what might be classified as a community benefit. They can also add more things and request additional items, but we wanted to provide a baseline for developments because, again, the variability was so great.
No, this is the slide I wanted to go back to make sure that I was seeing it correctly, that there were, if it's larger, the city still has some availability to enforce some of those things or bring them in during the planning phase.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, this is scheduled for a public hearing. I will now open up the public hearing. The secretary has let us know that no one has signed up for this particular agenda item. If there is anyone that would like to come forward, now is the time to do so. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing, and I will move to the will of our commission. Have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion?
My concern is the enforcement part of it. I know how challenging it is when some of these areas first start, and then it takes 3 years, 5 years for the development, and by then administrations have changed, the direction of the will of the community has changed, and being able to track it over a longer period of time to enforce it. Anyone else have any concern as to that? I mean, Jeff, you may be able to answer that question as far as how long on some of these planned districts
Right. So when it
to
is
actually develop.
Yeah, so when it does come forward, that not only the concept plan, but it's done through an ordinance. So the language as part of this that they're asking for, modifications or community benefits, it's in the text of the ordinance as well as the concept plan, and so that would run with the land. And so that would be codified and recorded as part of that ordinance. And so if development were to come in, whether it be 5 years from now or 20 years from now, provided nothing has changed, then that concept plan helps identify and include those regulations that they need to follow.
So if they come back in initially as a planned district, but then come back in and ask to rezone it to something else, then that just wipes out whatever was committed initially.
Right.
And potentially the area could be divided up and changed and redirected in a whole different area, correct?
Correct, and items can, or requests for rezoning can come for any zoning district, and ultimately would be up to the city council to make that decision.
But I think kind of for my clarification on that too, so if someone has a PDD and it's been presented and approved, if they were to want to come back later, they would have to bring it back to make any changes once it's been approved by the commission and council. They would have to come back and re-present it, correct?
If they wanted to make minor modifications,
It'd
then
go to
it
staff.
would be at that staff level. If it was major modification, then it would come forward. If it was a complete change from something besides a planned development district and wanted to change it to just general commercial or some other zoning district, then that would ultimately come before you all as well.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, well, we do have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Howell. Item 5.3, presentation, discussion, and possible action regarding the fiscal year 2025 comprehensive plan and unified development ordinance annual review. Apparently, this is your second time, Miss Ashley, so welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Commission. Ashley Klein, Staff Planner, Planning and Development Services. Tonight, I don't believe my slides are up. All right. Aha, here we go. Y'all had a little bit of a spoiler. So tonight, I'm excited to be presenting the fiscal year 2025 Comprehensive Plan Annual Review. The potential action for this presentation is acceptance. And some of the information and the format of this presentation may look familiar to y'all after the 5-year Comprehensive Plan Evaluation and Appraisal Report. And this presentation is really to capture the implementation that we've seen in the last fiscal year and between when we had the acceptance of that appraisal report with that 5-year update. In the comprehensive plan, we have 98 items, and since the adoption of the current comprehensive plan in 2021 and between that and September 30th, 2025, we have achieved 8 of the action items, 73 are on track, 6 are off track, and 11 are not started. Now you'll notice that we have 8 achieved and 73 on track. And it's worth pointing out that in the comprehensive plan, a lot of the action items, 40%, are ongoing. So the best that we can do with these is to have them on track. Examples of this could be continue best practices in planning and zoning. We're always going to do that, so it can never be achieved. In FY25, we have seen 3 amendments to the UDO, 2 of which were responses to Senate Bill 1567 in order to be in compliance with new legislation that dealt with definitions to family and amendments in our ability to restrict or regulate housing and occupancy. The one brought forward by the city was the conditional use permits for and non-conforming uses ordinance amendment for the Northgate area. And that requires nightclubs, bars, and taverns to follow the conditional use permit process. And on to some highlights. So in FY25, we have given nearly 3,000 trees new homes. This is in alignment with our Cooling College Station plan aimed at tackling the urban heat island effect. And here's a picture of some of those trees that got adopted. In this fiscal year, we also saw the entire engagement process for the Greater Northgate Small Area Plan Engagement Report. This resulted in that engagement report that we're using to follow steps forward with the Northgate area. Our biggest meeting for that had about 100 participants. To address our growing need for housing, we created and adopted the Housing Action Plan, and there's currently a standing committee that meets regularly, and they discuss implementation going forward and the next steps. We also hosted the Aggieland Music Industry Summit, which brought together professionals from across the industry for panel discussions and next steps in this music city of Aggieland. We also saw several events that brought in over 5,000 participants. Games of Texas alone brought in 8,000, and this is a really big win for economic development, tourism, and our parks and recreation departments. We also received Bird City certification, so we have our preservation, protection, and support of native birds. We saw the groundbreaking of Fire Station 7 over on Greens Prairie, which is intended to address our growing need for services in the city. And we also saw several improvements to our park systems and our amenities, including the Anderson Park pickleball courts, several tennis court improvements, and Butterfly Alley in Lick Creek. And finally, we saw multiple improvements in our bike ped infrastructure. Among these are the George Bush Drive separated bike lanes. This was through a TxDOT grant that we applied for and received and are making very good use of. We also have the Harvey Mitchell Parkway FM 2818 improvements with the TxDOT expansion, and along that we have the bike lanes that have the connectivity to campus, and the widening of Rock Prairie East with those bike lane sidewalks and improvements in lighting amenities. And to look forward to in upcoming annual reviews, we can see there will be an extension to that project towards the east. Looking ahead, we're going to do some more following up on the Comprehensive Plan 5-year update. We're going to bring forward a series of comp plan amendments to bring it in alignment with what we saw with that engagement and appraisal report for the comprehensive plan. So you can look forward to seeing more of me and the long-range team in the future. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Klein?
I want to say, as a pickleball fan, I appreciate the update on the pickleball courts. And seeing the multi-use paths going in along Harvey Mitchell Parkway is exciting. It's seeing how those are developing and being used. I'm looking forward to that as a cyclist as well. I'm looking forward to those as well. So keep up the good work in both those areas.
Sir, thank you.
Any other questions? What action are we taking on this evening? It says possible action.
Acceptance.
Just an acceptance. Okay. Thank you very much for that. With that, I will entertain a motion to accept the presentation as presented.
I make a motion to accept the presentation as presented.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much, Ashley. Great job.
Thank you so much.
We will continue on to our through our agenda discussion of new development applications submitted to the city. Any questions on that? Go ahead.
Just a note on the last item. Next time when we have a presentation, could we also focus on the things that are off track? Just a quick presentation about, there were 8 items. There's ones that are ongoing, but I always like just a quick update on which ones are off track. A lot of them are OBE, overcome by events. So oftentimes those things are things where our priorities have changed or the council's will has changed. And so just in the future, can we get an update on those as well? But we've already approved them now, so just for next time.
Absolutely. I will keep a note of that, and you'll see that next time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Presentation on some and updates on some items that were heard. A request to rezone approximately 5 acres on University Drive East. We heard that on October the 2nd and approved at 6:0. Council heard it on October the 9th and approved at 7:0. And a request to on rezone 4 acres on Yopon Lane and Bradley Road. And we approved that on September 18th, 6:0, and council approved that on October the 9th, 7:0. The upcoming schedule, council is here on November the 13th. We are here Thursday, November the 20th, Council will be meeting on Monday, November the 20th. That is for the Thanksgiving holiday, and then we'll be back here Thursday, December the 4th. No update on discussion on the Design Review Board of Bio Corridor. Discussion on possible action of future agenda items. There was one that, and I'm glad Ashley had said it, and I know David has presented the Housing Committee updates before. How often do they meet, and when can we get some more information from them?
So they meet once a month. They're actually meeting next week. They're presenting their first round of recommendations to council in a workshop on that November 24th meeting. And so we can certainly, I think once we get some direction from council on where to go, we can probably bring that back around to have them come and present as well to the commission.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, whenever there is something that can be presented, I'd like to see what they have going on and get that information here.
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have anything? Seeing nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.